consortium, so to make Minnesota part of the Engineering by Design Consortium. And we're here today to let you know a little bit about the middle school and high school programs, a few other things that we have on our agenda. And I have with us today Ryan Novitskiy. Ryan and Darcy Jones are our two new leaders in the STEM Center for the Engineering by Design program, and also Steve Barbado, the let's see, Executive Director. I always want to say CEO, but he's the Executive Director of ITEEA. Will be
actually, Michael, it's both.
Helping out with this today.
Yeah, I have a dual title, Executive Director and CEO.
Yeah, okay.
There you go. All right.
So either one will work. So Ryan, why don't you take over and lead us through?
All right, thank you, Mike, for the introductions. My name is Ryan Novitskiy. I am the STEM CTL Director of Learning. My contact info is below. In regards to email me, feel free to email any follow-up questions at that email.
We're not seeing you're sharing yet.
Oh, 1 second. Sorry about that. I'll get that taken care of right now. Okay. And my contact info is placed right below. Feel free to email me with any questions, comments, or concerns to follow up along the way. And on the call we have...
Hi, my name is Darcy Jones. I'm the STEM CTL Director of Innovation. My contact is also posted beneath, so please feel free to reach out at any time. We really are here to assist you. So thank you so much.
And we want to take this opportunity to first thank you for all coming out here following your school day. And two of our objectives for today is to overall analyze engineering by design and give an overview of STEM CTL initiatives. On our agenda for today, intended for the audience of middle school and high school educators, is a quick intro to EBD, or what is EBD, the Standards for Technological and Engineering Literacy, Standards for Technological Engineering Literacy Lesson Plan Template, acronym STEL, navigating the media-rich edition and standard editions of Engineering by Design courses, a media-rich edition for all, STEM Center for Teaching and Learning, CTL, initiatives, overall questions, comments, and concerns to address, and then a consortium director report out as well too. If at any point you find yourself being at a lack of words, your audio isn't working, please feel free to fill out this form for any further comments or questions. That way, all of them get addressed in a timely manner. So first I wanted to start off by talking about what engineering by design is overall. Engineering by design is a program built on the belief that the ingenuity of children is untapped, unrealized potential that, when properly motivated, will lead to the next generation of technologists, innovators, designers, and engineers. So I want to start off before mentioning this right here and saying that engineering by design are a list of curricula that aren't necessarily gearing our students to only be engineers. Hence the reason you'll see a lot of the times within the presentation a little e that resembles engineer, because we want to teach the students analytical thinking, problem solving, and critical thinking as well too along the way to make them our next 21st century leaders. This bit.ly right here, when you left click on it, is linked to another presentation that specifically highlights overall what engineering by design is. Engineering by design is an integrative STEM educational approach that can operationally be defined as the application of technological engineering design-based pedagogical approaches to intentionally teach content and practices of science and mathematics education through the content and practices of technology and engineering education. Integrative STEM education is equally applicable at the natural intersections of learning with the continuum of content areas, educational environments, and academic levels. And you'll notice that there's 4 circles right here for engineering by design, as Minnesota is part of our consortium. And being part of our consortium state, that means that just like today, we are delivering some professional development, which is now coined the term as professional learning. So today we're giving the overview of what EBD is and the backbone of it. We do have curriculum from pre-K-12, We are an assessment-based curriculums as well too. So we do give pre-assessments and post-assessments for diagnostic purposes to measure overall student growth. And we are research-based to drive all of our curriculum and content. Engineering by design is driven through a standards-based model. And we'll talk about that briefly a little bit later in regards to how the new standards for technological and engineering literacy are going to be used to drive all of our curriculums that are currently in place as well as future curricula. Also, the NGSS helps to drive our curricula, Engineering Habits of Mind, Grand Challenges for Engineering, and the CCSS, or the Common Core State Standards. Please notice the core. We start all the way down from pre-K going all the way to 12th grade. It's not to say that if you didn't take one of these courses, you have to take the one following it. This is a recommended course sequence that we put into place that we give to schools and say we recommend pre-K to 12, if they were to take them in this sequence, this is how we believe the students will be most successful in learning the engineering by design content. There's some additional middle school curricula as well it's called Engineering for All, in which it constitutes of food, vertical farming, engineering for all water, the world in crisis. We are a 6E model, and as I mentioned in the prior slide a few minutes ago, we do heavily focus on that little e in engineering, but all of our lessons and lesson plans are based around a 6E model. A lot of the times when devising content or making curriculums or writing lesson plans, a standard form sometimes may be a 5E lesson plan. We add the little e for engineering in to add in as an extension or elaboration on that project base, especially for the learning side. EBD Buzz Online, we're going to show the navigation of our, media-rich edition, in which you'll see individual bars right here that are showing student A, for instance, may have not hit STEL1, but then student B did, and student C will see and be able to make the correlation of who did and who did not meet particular standards based upon the assessment for reflective purposes for the educator, so that way when they go back to it, they can say, okay, this is what I need to teach more for next year, forthcoming year, or for the given fiscal or school year. There's different soft robotics that are embedded within our curriculum. One of them, most notably, Advanced Technological Applications, Foundation of Technology course, and a lot of our high school courses, as well as middle school, and now have soft robotics in there. And here are our leaders of our Engineering by Design and ITEA staff. Engineering by Design Industry Certification Pathway. With the career technical education, it is imperative that you understand that there is industry pathways set up for engineering by design. Specifically with Autodesk. If you left click on Engineering by Design, if you don't know how to get access to Autodesk, and you left click and go to it, it says specifically how we as EBD teachers, or actually anybody as educators, can go through and get access to Autodesk, which is free for all educators. Also, I have found it to be free for whether you are a college student, student in classrooms, and teachers. So it's free for all teachers and students. Our industry certification pathway is shown right here. It goes through a brief introduction as far as talking about what the industry certification pathway includes, and it includes the following courses. Foundations of Technology, in which AutoCAD gets introduced, enforced in technological design, and going into Autodesk Inventor and Revit in advanced design applications, as well as advanced technological applications, and even a little bit more in detail in engineering by design. I tend to be somebody though who likes to look at graphics. So if I scroll down over here, it specifically says what is being focused on by the graphic per each individual course. For instance, as mentioned before, FOT with AutoCAD, Tech Design AutoCAD certifications, ADA Revit, ATA or Advanced Technological Applications Inventor, Engineering Design Inventor, and these two courses have an Inventor focus. Advanced Design Applications has a Revit focus. And then it begins to also detail our four-year course sequence. And now I'm going to go pass it on to Darcy.
All right, so EDD really allows the teacher to use what they see is best for their classroom. So even though Autodesk is provided for free, these are a list of recommended softwares. So again, unlike others out there, it really is geared towards tailoring to your classroom and providing you with resources that you would like to use. So we don't require it, but these are a list of others out there if you don't wish to use just Autodesk.
And now I'm going to pass it on to Steve.
Unmute there. So the standards for technological and engineering literacy, I'm not going to take up a ton of time right now to go through them all, but I want you to realize that there's a full presentation that is linked here. And Ryan, you can just show them that as it comes up. That'd be great. And I'm just going to hit on some highlights as we go through this. So the STEL, Standards for Technological and Engineering Literacy, came out July 8th of this year after a 2-year project that we had running with the National Science Foundation Funding and Technical Foundation of America. And Ryan, if you could slide down just a little bit to the next slide. The interesting part is the Standards for Technological Literacy had been around for 20 years. And in that time frame, we had been doing much with engineering design, but it hasn't been documented that way. And the Standards for Technological Literacy had 20 standards that were very involved, with the last 8 being the designed world. We took those last 8, we moved them out, we brought in some others, incorporated it, and focused it into a power set of standards down to 8 core standards. So Ryan, if you could slide down, I'm just going to spend less time on these to get to the 2 more slides. There you go, right there. So this is the basic structure. That gold area in the middle are the 8 power standards. They're available on our website for a free review and viewing. You can download them for a small fee, and you can also get the print version for a fee. But the 8 standards right now are connected directly to the practices in red. And the practices in red focus on the engineering habits of mind with a technology and engineering hands-on experience to it with the making and doing component. And when you look at those two octagons together, they are what every student should know and be able to do related to technology and engineering. And we have grade bands of pre-K2, 3-5, 6-8, and 9-12 that are broken into the benchmarks for them. The context that you teach those within are in the blue. So no matter if you're teaching manufacturing, construction, communication, transportation, biotechnology, printing, whatever that context is, it fits in that blue area. The great thing about it is it gives you the flexibility to teach what is relevant for your students at whatever level you're at. The cool part about our part is with those gold standards and the practices, we've identified through research what every student should know and be able to do with whatever context you're teaching. If you could scroll down a little bit more, Brian. There we go. This breaks it down, the nature and characteristics of technology and engineering, the core concepts, the integration component of the knowing, thinking, and doing, the impacts of technology, the influence and impacts on society of technological developments, the history, the design component, and then the applying part are really the core parts that we teach. If you could scroll down some more. The format of the standards, as I said, are there. They have big key ideas, big ideas. The benchmarks are all listed there. We used to have 288 benchmarks in the STLs. Now in the STELs, we've reduced that to 142. So it's much more manageable as you work through the different grade levels. Scroll down 2 slides. We can skip through that one. There we go. These practices are really important. I think this is the big breakaway from the STLs to the STEL. The attention to ethics, communication, collaboration, optimism, critical thinking, making and doing, creativity, and systems thinking. In the 21st century skills, business and industry are always telling us we need students with really strong soft skills. We have upped the ante on that. These practices are more than just the soft skills. They're actually putting content and benchmarks to the soft skills within our field. You can move on to the next slide. And one more down. There we go. So now we're at the context, and there's an example there of how the identified grade 3 to 5, in this case, technology and engineering context and computation automation, artificial intelligence and robotics is the context. Third graders will apply then and describe the helpful and harmful effects of technology, and it works it through as you connect those in the standards. If you could scroll down a little bit more. These are all connected then to the domains of learning, the dimensions of technology and engineering, and student outcomes. So in this case, we have the domain of cognitive, which moves to the knowing and thinking and ends up with the student's knowledge. And you'll see the other lines working out to be the skills and the student dispositions. Scroll down again. There are a couple examples in this presentation you can take a look at that help identify the standard descriptions with the key ideas. Next slide. The grade bands, same thing, all detailed, and scroll down some more. So we have one more slide. There we go. So we want to make sure that when teachers are using this, educators of any type, we're able to show that you can convert the benchmarks to instructional objectives. And we've given an example here. This is broken down in the PDF version as well as the print version. You can scroll down some more. So it's a call to action. If you don't take anything else out of the STEL, you need this page. This page defines through research, what is technology and what do we teach? What is engineering and how do we teach it? And what is technological and engineering literacy all about? When we have students to be able to understand, use, create, and assess the human designed environment that is the product of technology and engineering activity, to hopefully help every student realize no matter what level they're at, it's important for them to become technologically and engineering literate. If you could scroll down a little bit more. We have one more slide. Great. So on our website, we have the overview, the STEL resources. On the STEL resources, there's things like flyers and marketing materials for you and things like that. And every day we're adding more to that. And then we have the references on the third tab there. So keep your eyes out for an interactive app that we're developing. It'll be out by probably our virtual conference time, which is March 24 to 27. And lots more good things. You'll see there down below, you'll see an example of the benchmark crosswalk to the next generation science standards and the Common Core state standards for math and English language arts. So there's tons of resources there, and we're going to be building that site more and more. Are there any questions that you might have that are on the top of mind right now regarding the standards for technological and engineering literacy?
I have a question.
Yes.
Would this be something easily implemented in our distant learning days that we are going through now?
I lost the last part of that question. Can you just say that last part?
Yep. So, I mean, just distance learning is on my mind because that's
right.
learning that we're in right now.
Good.
Is this something that could easily be implemented online for them? Or like if they don't have internet at home, are there other lessons in there that we could send home paper copies?
So
I
Darcy.
think she's referring to the the middle school curriculum or the high school curriculum.
Either or.
Oh, so
Yeah.
with the engineering by design curricula, we have some hybrids that are being developed right now. So Ryan and Darcy could probably talk more to that level with each of those courses and what's available. Yep.
We're going to get to that next too as well.
Okay.
We got
great.
that.
Yeah, good question. Good question.
I guess standard alignment with Minnesota standards, and which ones?
That's a great question. So let me get to the end goal first. The end goal is that Minnesota and the Department of Education adopt these standards, right? That's first and foremost.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mike, we can work with you on doing a correlation to the state standards. That's what I think Darcy and Ryan can help with, and we can get some of our NTECs to assist with that as well. Every state is different.
Minnesota's a little bit different in that they will not adopt like they don't adopt the NGSS science standards. They will rewrite their own that are very similar to those, but they are very independent that way. Same with the math. But I think, and then they do not have for the non-core areas, they have frameworks. They don't have standards for that area, those areas. So we do what we can to stress that these are available and have people use these when they're designing or placing standards with their coursework.
So Mike, maybe what we could do is work with you and MTEEA to look at what you want done first, because I think we have to break it down by grade span, whether it's high school first or middle school first or elementary first, and then do the correlation like we've done with NGSS and Common Core directly to them.
Yep. Okay.
All right. Good idea.
Great. So Steve mentioned some items being worked on, and one of them is the STEL lesson plan template. So the main purpose of this survey template is to provide all teachers a lesson plan resource. So this template's actually broken into more than one survey for each of those grade bands. So for example, the pre-K to second, 3 to 5, 6 to 8, and 9 to 12. So using page logic, when the teacher or the user first selects which grade level that they're inputting, they're then going to be displayed with the standards and benchmarks that only correlate to that grade. So you won't be seeing a list of standards that have, not any connection with the grade level that you're wanting to use this for. The survey also includes lots of resources to ITEA's website through different tooltips and links. And end goal is to hopefully connect with the app that will be available next spring.
So we're here to learn more about engineering by design. And as Darcy mentioned earlier too on one of the slides, she began to touch on, engineering by design in regards to logistics. She talked about a couple of different CAD programs or computer-aided design programs such as Tinkercad, Onshape, etc. Engineering by design isn't a course where we are saying this has to be taught this only way, it needs to be done, that's it. Our curriculum is designed in a way that allows the educator to be innovative, going towards the same overarching objectives and standards that help to drive all of our curricula. For instance, if you don't have the bandwidth or the computers to run Autodesk Inventor or Revit because they have animations that accompany it, Tinkercad and Onshape, etc., or the programs can also be used as supplemental resources in lieu of not being able to use Autodesk. Because I just know from personal experience that what we did in my former school, science tech school, a lot of our students, though they were not science and tech, didn't have the laptops that may have been as powerful. So we allowed people to go through afterwards and work on the Chromebooks for Onshape, Tinkercad, or other programs. On this slide right here, it begins to show navigation, and we're going to go through and show what some of the courses looks like, specifically focusing on one high school course and one middle school course right now. Engineering by design goes through a LMS or a learning management system called BUZZ. In the BUZZ system, you're always going to select use as a teacher on the teacher interface. Over here is your platform. All of your courses are housed or embedded. I'm going to start with the high school course and start with Foundations of Technology, where when we're talking about a course sequence of learning, falls right around the 9th or 10th grade level. Each area, if you left click on an arrow, it brings down drop downs. It goes to your course descriptions, your copyright agreement, student organizations, and your overall course description for the course is listed right here. And this course prepares students to understand pre-engineering concepts that focus on critical thinking and problem solving. I'm going to highlight that. Group and individual activities engage students in creating ideas, developing innovations, and engineering practical solutions. Technology content, resources, and lab classroom activities apply student applications of science, math, and other school subjects in authentic situations. Not just FOT or Foundations of Technology, all of our courses help to embrace critical thinking, problem solving, and have that STEM integrative approach. Resources for safety guidelines and videos. And I'm going to talk about this right now too, because somebody mentioned, well, if we are distance learning, what do we do or what can we do differently? And I'm going to address that. Although it says videos such as parts of the bandsaw, operating the bandsaw, and parts of the drill press, if we are distance learning or similar, there are many different ways to go about solving one of our activities. And I'm going to give a specific example out of one of our units and out of one of our learning cycles on how to do just that. Every single one of our courses, though, in the beginning of a year has a first 5 days. So that's talking about what's going to be done for the first 5 days of school. First day consists of doing a problem-solving activity. And in order to see what the actual lesson kind of looks like, very briefly, each one has a PowerPoint or presentation that are embedded within it. And if you left-click on it, it'll download it automatically. Or if you left-click here, it'll do a pop-out and it'll overview the actual lesson itself. And I wanted to go through and show one of our lessons when, in this case, it's actually considered a learning cycle for Unit 2. Unit 2 is all around process of engineering design. Our standards for driving the learning cycles are all embedded within here because all of our contents are standards based. We're going to go through and talk about learning cycle 1 briefly in lieu of time and highlight how to make that transition into distance learning. If we're in learning cycle 1, the engineering design process, sometimes what I like to do is I like to go through the supporting files or even go through the Ccss lesson plan overall, which we're going to show as well. The overarching goal for this is to take the concepts learned via the Pythagorean theorem, so learning about algebraic expressions and equations, and applying them towards something later on. We also go over structural efficiencies, 5-step engineering design process, then the overall in-depth engineering design process of the 12-step, a graphic organizer, a review of Pythagorean theorem, and then the application part. So a lot of our courses, every single one has projects that accompany a learned concept. So if you're learning about Pythagorean theorem, what's next? Well, the what's next is taking that applied learning and putting it to practical use towards a common problem. In this case, designing a crane by using mathematical calculations. Hence our coined term STEM integration that we talked about earlier. I'm going to backspace a couple different ways to kind of show you different ways to navigate through each individual learning cycle, all the way into our 6E learning plan that constitutes of 6 E's and not 5 E's. Engage, explore, explain, engineer, enrich, evaluate. So as you notice, this is the additional portion, the Little League engineering, with the focus on that we're not saying that students need to become engineers, but as I mentioned before, problem solving, critical thinking, analyzing, and also everything mentioned in the STEL standards is what our courses really focus on that students learn in order to be 21st century leaders and learners. And every single lesson has a 6E lesson plan that accompanies it. Within the Media Rich edition, which is differing from the standard edition, I'm going to show what the main difference is between the standard edition and the Media Rich edition. It is this portion right here, our assessments. Your pre-assessments and post-assessments, and an optional summative assessment. Those are used for diagnostic purposes for measuring your students' growth throughout the year, also for reflective purposes for the educator to see what do I need to focus on more next year, what can I leave out a little bit more, and what standards aren't hit and why. And if you use the Media Rich edition in your school, you have access to all the assessments via Agilix Buzz. There's another edition, the standard edition. And the standard edition of the content is going to be discussed with your state consortium director on how to access it. And I'll show quickly what it looks like. It takes a second or so to go through and download. It is a bigger file. And as that's downloading, I'm going to go back to the presentation and I'm going to show a middle school course as well. Going into my teacher app, and once in my teacher's application, I'm going to go through, scroll down, and I'm going to left click on Inventions and Innovations. As Steve mentioned earlier, our courses are going towards a hybrid learning style. What we're talking about is every single area or every single lesson that has an accompanying presentation or an activity will have a flipped classroom approach embedded within there. And what it will look like is individual screencasts for each lesson along the way. Each of our rewrites of our curriculums moving forward are going to have screencast recordings. That way, if the educators are new to the content or curriculum, it's a way for them to learn the content. If a student missed the classroom, well, here's the link or here's the video, and it'll show and give the content that is needed to be successful in your coursework or class to understand exactly what's going on. KSB stands for Knowledge Skill Builder, and the middle school courses are built with Knowledge Skill Builders, while the difference in the high school is built around learning cycles and lessons. This is structured in activities, and what you'll notice is there's different drop-down menus for this, but it's just as intuitive as far as being organized and accessing your lesson plans, what is needed to be successful in the classroom for preparation, as well as applicable files. They're all there for you. Now, as this downloaded, and I wanted to show briefly how quickly it took to download. It takes a few minutes or so depending on how much space you have on your computer. And the largest difference between the Media-Rich Edition, which we just showed for Foundations of Technology, and the Standard Edition right here, is this is exactly what it looks like, a 930-page PDF document. It does have all the files in here. It does have all the content, logistics, explanations, PowerPoints, but the largest difference is it's not as intuitive where you have the Agilix Buzz portal or the LMS Learning Management System. We're going to talk a little bit later on as well too. If you're forced to use or have to use or recommended to use different learning management system, we got you. We've worked on that and we problem solved that. We'll talk about that in a couple slides from now. But the PDF goes in sequential learning of order from the beginning of the course all the way down, and it has all the supporting files embedded within the PDF in order to be successful in teaching the class. Whatever is best for your school or institution, your consortium director will be able to address and talk about that at a later time. All of our resources, references, and then when I scroll down, I believe it's to right around page 100 or so. Yep, it goes into your first 5 days, which gives the PDF printouts. And there's also hyperlinks that are embedded on here as well that go directly to the supporting files, as shown right there. Access and looking at anything online as well too is via itea.org. And now I wanted to go to the next slide. Based upon a lot of data that's been being presented to the STEM CTL or the STEM Center for Learning is, well, we use Canvas or we use Schoology. How can you help us? Well, we got that. We're calling this the Media-Rich Edition for all, in which what we're able to do when you contact our EBD Buzz support and you went to your state consortium director for access to the Media-Rich Edition or access to our curriculum, you're able to send an EBD Buzz support at ita.org email for a ticket to process, and they send something to you that's labeled as a common cartridge. Essentially, once you load that into your LMS, it populates it the best way possible into your Schoology, into your Canvas, or whichever LMS you have, enabling you to access it just as you would if you were in Agilix Buzz, but the difference is the assessments aren't going to show the same. Also, before moving on to our STEM CTL initiatives and finalizing with your state consortium director report out, I wanted to talk about college credit opportunities. So we do have alignments to different universities and colleges. Some are listed here, Elizabeth College in Pennsylvania with certain stipulations, dual credit options, as well as Illinois State, which if they take FOT, one advanced course, and ED would receive 3 college credits towards the technology education program if they enrolled into it. I know through personal experiences, through teaching all these courses at the high school level, that some local community colleges, if you speak with the department chairs or respective personnel, there may be some logistics you have to work through, but they may be able to partner with it as long as you show the syllabus and other content they require to get additional credit opportunities. If you do that, please inform us. That way we can help to advertise for as well. Now we're moving on to the next portion, which is the STEM CTL initiatives. STEM CTL initiatives are providing you further PD opportunities, whether it's to grow your overall capacity and get your hours, that way it helps with certification purposes, or if you want to be a leader within engineering by design. This one specifically is towards that. If you are already teaching engineering by design or recommended by Mr. Sandell or whomever is your principal or other department chairs and say, we want further information, we want to become stronger in engineering by design. We also may want to lead a future workshop. Also, these workshops do come with monetary compensation when you do teach them overall. Our course training is listed right here for prices, and it's typically ran about twice a year, but you become an expert not just in that course, but in overall engineering by design. More information is located on the slide when you go through the slideshow.
All right, so next is the STEM School of Excellence. So this works with awarded points. There are two areas. There's the STEM School of Excellence and the STEM School of Merit. For STEM School of Excellence, schools will receive a banner and a certificate. And for the Merit, schools will receive a certificate to display in their school. There are links in here for the application and the process and criteria. So it works well even if you're teaching online or in a hybrid environment. There's point breakdowns with 30 different steps, anything from integrating different STEM projects to school participation in a STEM outreach program or something within your community. You would be awarded points as long as you go through the documentation process. For ITA non-members, it is $295 for your school or your district, and for members, it is $195. And so I don't know, Ryan, if you want to click through there or if we are short on time, but you'll be able to see the Google form in order to register. And then under process and criteria, it does have the breakdown in different steps. All right, so next is the Reach Challenge. And this is really to try and reach what's in your community and be involved. So what is the Reach Challenge? Through the Reach Challenge, students will have the opportunity to use their STEM skills to reach a member of their community who has a challenge to overcome. So focusing on the empathy and user-centered design portions of the engineering design process, students will work with their user expert to identify a specific challenge and design and create a viable, adaptive, or assistive technological solution to this problem. So teams can submit a short technical paper as well as videos describing their project to earn awards from ITA. Both the STEM School of Excellence and the Reach Challenge will be brought up at our virtual conference and normally our annual conference each year. So they will get recognition at each conference. Teachers and their teams of anywhere from 1 to 10 students per team, they can register and they will receive a challenge toolkit. So this is a great opportunity if you're teaching online or even hybrid. It is perfect for this year. So there's new material added to the toolkit called Design from a Distance within that toolkit. Let's see here. Apologize, I lost my notes. So there'll also be assigned a client to work specific challenge if they could not find something within their community. And then microbadging. So microbadging, hot new topic. There is a discount for ITA members per session, $49. If you're not a member, it's a little bit more. There's also a bulk price. There are 2 different sessions. So there's safety, and then there are digital literacy sessions. So you can choose anywhere from 1 of these courses to all 20, but again, you can choose just 1. If you complete all 10 within the series, so 10 for safety and 10 for digital literacy, you will be awarded a certificate and then a badge for within your email signature. Each course is an hour of professional learning.
So that was a lot of information. So we went from talking about a brief overview of what is engineering by design, the new STEL implementation, to overall to STEM CTL initiatives. If you have further questions or comments, please feel free anytime to utilize our form or send us a direct email that we can address them at any time that we need to help out along the way.
Ryan, maybe you want to put that link in the chat. I don't know that they can click on it from the presentation.
Yeah. Wait.
What was the pricing for the middle school and the high school?
We're almost there.
Okay.
All right.
So this is my part, I believe, right?
Yep.
So to become a part of the Minnesota Engineering by Design Consortium, of course, there is a cost for this. There are, as Ryan has talked about, the two editions, the Budget version or Media Rich edition and the Standard edition. So if you go to the next slide there. For the Buzz version or Media Rich edition, any single class at any level is $200 for that per year, plus training for using the Buzz version, and it gets into the content area. In the elementary, we have a K2 package, a 3-6 package, or a K5 package. This is per building, $650 per building. If they want more than 4 teachers, the first 4 teachers are included in that, $100 per teacher over 4, and it maxes out at $900 plus whatever training would be needed. Middle school package, 6-8 package, again, if you wanted just 6th grade or just 7th grade or just 8th grade, it's $200 for each level per teacher. So if you want a middle school 6-8 package where multiple teachers are teaching multiple classes, it's $700 per building, $100 per teacher over 4, again a $900 max on that, plus whatever training would be required or needed for that. Same with the high school. For the 9-12 package, $1,200 per building, or if you have a smaller high school and you just want individual packages, individual classes, courses, you can look at that $200 per course, and then the training for that. And then if you, in each of these, if you want to have a STEM school membership at the middle school or elementary where everybody, it's an electronic membership to ITEEA for basically the entire school. And we can add that in for $100 per building. If you want just the download version of the Engineering by Design materials, the fee for that is $100. However, if you are an MTEEA or ITEEA member, or excuse me, MTEEA and ITEEA member, it is free. If you are just the MTEEA, then it's the fee drops down to $60, and it does include an ITEEA membership along with that. Next one, Ryan. So with the Buzz version, the Media Rich version, when you can do things face to face, we would have a 4-day summer session, and hopefully by next year when we get this going, we can do that. Right now we have like St. Cloud Middle School is starting to use the middle school version, so we are going to try doing a distance training session starting this week Friday. If you're in the middle school and like to jump in on that, send me an email or just put it in the chat and we'll work on that. The cost for training per participant is $600. If they want an additional course, it's an additional $400 per course just for covering the cost of the training. And if you have multiple teachers that want to do it, or if you want us to come and do something at your building, we can look and figure out a custom cost for that. If you want to take a closer look at the Engineering by Design, the Media Rich edition, there is a review or request to review that form link here, and this we will be sending you this PowerPoint or this slideshow in a link. So just make sure that you have filled out, if you did the filled out the form before I have your email address. If not, make sure I do get your email either through the chat or send me one at the the email for Minnesota Engineering by Design, or put it in the chat and I will get it to you that way. That will set you up for a preview for 1 week, and we can add another week to it if needed. And you have access to the entire media-rich addition for the course work that you're looking at. And the last one. And there's my information for contact. Do we have questions that we weren't? You can ask out loud or put it in the chat.
I was just wondering, are there any additional, you've got the training expense, you've got the licensing expense. Is there any other equipment you have to buy? You know, you've got the programs if you're doing, you know, Autodesk. Are there any other expenses that, you know, a school would run into as they implement?
Mostly just, you know, whatever consumable materials you'd use. The program is really designed to allow flexibility for a teacher at a building to determine the best way for them to do it with the resources that they have. They're not going to say go out and buy, you know, 15 VEX kits or whatever. It's looking at the things. A lot of the exercise activities, the engineering part, you know, is done with stuff that you can find either in your shop or in you may have in your lab or classroom, or, you know, it's very inexpensive things that can be, but it's, you know, mostly just consumable. Scissors, cutters, saws, hand, some basic tools. You know, you can do a very good job with all these activities. So in a long version, that was a no.
Now, in the robotics unit, what do they use VEX, or what do they recommend as far as in teaching the robotics unit?
The recommendation for engineering design is VEX robotics. That's engineering design, the 12th, 11th grade course, unit 2, goes through and talks about VEX. And when they go into the coding aspect, EasyC is still free for 14 days. And from personal experience, after about 14 days, the students using it, they got the gist of what's going on. They've already built it, pre-populated it, and that's actually free for 14. I do know, also from personal experience, if you contact them directly, a lot of the times they give you multiple seats and multiple shares to go through and actually have EasyC for a longer set period of time, whether it's a month or 2 months as well too. The other coursework, for instance, the EBD team's Next Gen Grade 6 has a microbit processing chips. And those you can get almost anywhere now. So it's a little bit softer robotics. There's also soft robotics, which is going a little bit more into the microbit processing chips. So it's actually reusing some of the materials that may have been purchased, whether it's at grade 6 or grade 7, because Inventions and Innovations also calls for that processing chip, but it's nothing that's going to require a lot of extensive resources. So if you already have a servo laying around, you already have a DC motor laying around, you know, you can use those interchangeably. And if it's give an example, going across a train road track and they have to, you know, raise and lower the lever, as long as you got that servo, you got that motor, and then afterwards you can make adjustments, you can do whatever you need to for your class for that.
Any other questions?
All right. Well, if you do have any questions and your audio just may not be functioning properly at the time, we did have that additional comments, questions there. Oops, wrong screen. The additional comments, questions portion as well too. If you didn't have a chance to get the presentation, I will also populate that in the chat right now, as far as to check it out anytime, go through it, use those as resources. And if you have any further questions, want direct contact, feel free to reach out to us by email, located on the screen right there. Thank you for spending the time with us. I know it's been probably a long day so far, a long week. With that being said, thank you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for taking your time today. Good to hear from all of you. I hope everything goes well, and hang in there. Things will get better.
All right. All right. So how do you guys think that went for the first time around?
Pretty good, I think. I think when we do the elementary one, however,
Mhm.
a lot of what we did with it, outside of the curriculum part, I think we don't want to be so heavy. You know, right now, let me take a quick look here and see how many. I think there's like a half dozen that had responded on the elementary one.
Okay.
But more with the, more with the curriculum or curriculum examples, or taking a, a slower look through what, a lesson is, or how a lesson works. And I think even with this one, I think, that we kind of glossed over the lesson and the 6E lesson plan, and maybe, do a semi deep dive into that, into one lesson, and say, this is what you would do and how you would do it. And it's set up for 7 hours, and, et cetera. So they can see how that is.
Yeah, I was trying to.
We threw a lot of information at them at one
Yeah,
time.
it was.
Yeah.
So what we didn't, oh, wait, no, let me take over here. So only if we're done with how did things go? How did you think things went?
Oh, I fear I sounded like an auctioneer. So yeah, going off your point there, maybe we should just have a slide that lists the STEM CTL initiatives, maybe just bullet points with links. Do you feel like we shouldn't touch upon the reach and those opportunities?
I think they're good. No, I think we need to, it's one of those awareness deals. The reach challenge, I think if you did it and had just like a couple of,
Maybe in the pictures
or just, like off of their main page of the reach challenge of what it is, a description, a little bit more. And then, yeah, and as far as the micro badging and that part, I'm not sure how much these people are paying attention to. I've been forwarding things, as they come out, all the things that come out through the ITEA blast, then I resend it again too, and hopefully maybe it catches them one time or the other. I'm not sure how many of those actually would be ITEA members either.
Okay.
And that's kind of trying to build the membership through this also. So, but it's working, I think.
Okay.
Because I think, they probably tuned into this kind of see the nuts and bolts and what it costs.
Right.
And then we put a little bit extra in there, but I think it's good. It kind of plants that seed of, standards for the STLs were what, and now we have the STELs standards, and so that's part of what our leadership needs to work on, is how we can educate our members and non-members. We have the listserv that we use, and through our Department of Ed guy, our specialist, he will send out emails to all teachers in the state, whether they're members or not. So we get him a lot for this type of thing. So last Friday, we talked with the teachers from St. Cloud, and I believe we're scheduled to talk with them again this Friday.
So I received an email they needed to cancel for this Friday.
Okay, all right.
Let me just double check on that. I'm pretty sure that's what I responded to today, because we were Friday at 9 originally, right, for our time.
Yep.
Yes, that was the one that they actually asked to cancel, and they said they get off Thursday, Friday next week. Well, not off, but like I'm guessing PD or something similar.
Yeah, well, it's a statewide, our state, what used to be Minnesota Education. So it's 2 days for professional development through Education Minnesota, which is, NEA and AFT together.
Okay.
And it's just always been built into the calendar. So they're off that week. So we'd be looking at the following Friday then, probably.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
What I can do is I can just change that. Let me see real quick. Yeah, change that into the Zoom schedule now for next week Friday. Does that work for you guys though? Next week Friday, same time?
Yep. It's early in the morning on a Friday. Better.
I know.
Looking at, taking your normal 4-day training, and we're looking at a 3-month training with every other Friday, a lot of it being flipped. Have any suggestions on and how, we technically should not be involving you as probably as much as we are. I mean, with this, I had talked with Aaron Logan to see if he wanted to help out. I think, right now, if it's going to be on Fridays during the day, the other people that have trained for middle school are not available. They all are in either where they have students in the building on Fridays. They can't take that time to help out. So I would probably I think we're going to start with, which one's the 6th and 7th grade? I had jotted down someplace, but.
I just realized I sent the wrong invitation. I'm sorry.
No.
I took the training from last week Friday and I repositioned it onto this week Friday. So anyway, I put it to next week Friday just now.
Okay.
So
in doing that, how, what's a good way to do it? I mean, have you done a totally distance teacher training yet?
So yeah, so I did one back. Oh my gosh, sitting down kills me. Oh, 1 second. I've been sitting all day. These alignments, but okay. We did a ATI completely virtual in May, and then we did an ATI. We're doing an ATI this weekend, completely virtual, as well too. So it goes over well. But what I usually like to do is I even do a dry run before the actual workshop. So whoever's partaking in it, like today at 4 o'clock, I just want to talk to the participant. Today I found out 2 different issues. Is that although I didn't teach. I was a vice principal of one of the educators that is in the ATI this weekend. Just talking to her, she didn't have access to like a new updated Autodesk version. That's okay. I could plan for that. And then I'm able to plan and redirect my agenda. And also she didn't have access to a particular program. So anyway, what I'm really getting at is that we can definitely do a fully virtual one. I would just, when we give our opening email and opening invitation, we say we need A through Z, and then we do a pre-meeting prior to the workshop, making sure, hey, is everybody set up? What do you need? Do you have access to everything? Can you log in? Like today I just did logins. And I did a software access. So I called Joe. Hey, Joe, can you jump in real quick? So that way there's no problems logging into anything during that workshop. So as long as we are able to, do a 15-minute, just discussion, maybe a week before it, we can definitely run a fully virtual training online for sure.
Yeah, because there was, can't think of the lady is 1 grade. One of the guys, Mike, is at 1 grade level, and the guy that does the dist, I think his name is Chad, will be doing all 3. So, we kind of have 2 at 1 grade level, 2 at a 2nd grade level, and one guy that has the 3rd grade level. But if it's just going to be, 2 people, and you have 1 hour on a Friday, it's going to be a lot of time from Friday to Friday where they're going to be doing things. So it's like on their own.
Right.
I
wish with Minnesota having those 2 full days, I know it may be last minute, but if there's that window of time open, maybe if we know how much time, you know what I mean? Like,
if they were required to attend the professional development, then it would probably work, but most teachers aren't required. It's basically, it's a 2-day window for teachers to go. About 20% of the teachers may go to these or may attend these, and on, you know, of course, this is online.
Right.
Yeah, it's kind of a long-standing tradition that's been there, and in fact, the actual workshop has gone from 2 days to 1 day. So I think we're going to start seeing school calendars change, not having the 2 days in there anymore, moving it back to 1 day, and it's a union thing.
I got it.
Being an ex-union negotiator, it's like, well, it's there, and they have that opportunity to do this professional development and do things to advance themselves, but
I understand that.
not a lot do, and a lot of them plan other activities for that 4-day weekend. But yeah, we could float it. I don't know that it would float it, and that's the part the school is going to have to determine too. And I'll reach out to Leah, who is the director or the kind of the person in charge, and see if I can determine with her what we're going to be able to do for training, because I haven't really fully gotten a commitment from them for this, but they need to commit so that we can do this.
Okay.
But just keeping your, you know, if it could be an hour every week where it's just talk about something, work on it over the week, and the next week, okay, how did things go with that? And okay, here's what we're looking for the next, with that type of deal.
I'm wondering too, if anybody's at the middle school and they're doing I&I, Inventions and Innovations, we are, what isn't always done, I'll take